and Dominic Hrbaty. It's 30-love in the first game. Sampras serving.
Sampras says, this is the heart of the year for me. He said, you know, when you haven't been winning tournaments, you don't have the same fear factor in the locker room. But he said, for me, walking out on center court at 2 o'clock, trying to defend my title is what it's all about. And he says, coming on center court is like going home.
Game Sampras.
Sampras holds to go up 1-love on center court. And we told you what matches you'll be seeing on the main courts today. Now let's check in on the outer courts with Barry McKay, Billie Jean King, and Martina Navratilova.
All right, Jim, thanks very much. A couple of superstars on these outer courts, Andre Agassi and Monica Seles. And Billie Jean, the question is, does Andre have the will to repeat that great victory of 1992?
Well, I don't know about repeating the victory in 92, but let's face it, Andre Agassi is back. He's committed. He's gone from 141 to 19th in the world since January. He seeded 13th here at Wimbledon, and I know he would give anything to repeat here again and have 2 titles under his belt.
All right, Billy. Martina, what do you think? Does Monica Seles have a chance here, physically and mentally, to pull it all off?
Well, you know, Barry, physically she's lost the weight. She's in great shape, better shape than she's been since before the stabbing. Emotionally, I think that first tournament after her father passed away is behind her, which was the French. And mentally, she got to the finals there, and she could have won the whole thing. I think she's ready. She's got what it takes at this time.
Those are just 2 of the matches we'll be covering on these outer courts. Back to you, Jim.
And we bring you back to center court. Pete Sampras a game up on Dominic Hrbaty.
15-love.
That was Hrbaty's first serve of the second game.
And I thought that Steffi Graf had a high ball toss, but Dominic Hrbaty, that's going to give him major problems if he ever gets a windy day with that toss. And right away we see that Hrbaty's staying back on his second serve. Perfect tactic for Pete Sampras so he can work on his approach and get into the net.
Sampras' circumstances not that dramatically different this year than was the case last year. Last year, he came in with a match record of 23-7 to this point in the season. This year, 25-8. So all that dramatically different.
Well, that's very true. In fact, the thing that makes Pete's season look so bad is that he had a bad Australian Open this year.
Game Sampras.
That's what, and Pete said after losing in Paris so badly just a few weeks ago, he said, you know, that he said it's hard to believe that I might go a whole year without winning a major. This is his best shot by far. These grass courts are his comfort zone, and this has become, as was true for Boris Becker, this is his spiritual home. And now he's already up a break against Hrbaty, who has played very little grass court tennis. Hrbaty's a strong guy, solid on, but he doesn't know how to move on grass. He doesn't, because he's so tall, he doesn't get down as low as he should. And though he took Sampras to 5 sets at last year's Australian Open, Pete didn't even know who this guy was. He had no idea who he was. He wasn't paying much attention, and it showed.
I thought, though, that Sampras would have a better Queen's Club tournament 2 weeks before Wimbledon after his disappointing French Open. There you see a little stab forehand shot there from Hrbaty. But he had a very disappointing loss there to Mark Woodford and played terrible tennis. And I felt he needed more grass court matches.
A lot of people feel the same way as you, John, although Pete, in his defense, said, look, I lost in the quarters of Queens last year, and I still came back and won Wimbledon.
That's true.
But it is upsetting to see a guy looks so unforceful on his best surface as he looked at Queens.
30 all.
Long with the volley to a wide open court. The holy grail for Sampras remains, can he win 3 more Grand Slam championships in his career and surpass Roy Emerson to become the all-time leader in that category? He's got 10. Emerson won 12.
So 2 misses at the net for Pete and 2 points. That's un-Sampras-like. Roy Emerson was also able to do is win the French Open, which Pete has not yet done. And Roy did it the hard way, serving and volleying, which is how Pete would have to try to win it. So that's another one of his holy grail efforts.
Deuce.
Keep in mind that no one since Rod Laver has won all 4 majors, which is really remarkable.
Advantage, Sampras.
And many Americans who are missing one of the majors have missed the French, including Pete, Andre Agassi, John McEnroe, Jimmy Connors, Arthur Ashe. That's the one that tends to trip up the Yanks.
Good backhand volley there from Sampras. Got some good depth there, but Hrbaty still managed to hit around the outside of the ball. Stayed down well on that forehand.
Hrbaty trying to break back after Sampras took a second game service break. And now Pete with the advantage again.
Advantage, Sampras.
Sampras moved well for this ball because this is not easy, especially the first couple of days at Wimbledon when the court tends to be a little bit slippery. Kept his balance well there. Hit that backhand volley.
Deuce.
Hrbaty's really handling the high stuff from Sampras. Fielded that one well, and I'd be surprised if Pete doesn't start sliding his serves around a little bit more. Hrbaty's a big, tall guy, taking nice pokes at these high balls.
Break point, second serve. Opportunity here for Hrbaty to pull back up to Sampras's level.
Wow.
Double fault.
Keep in mind, Pete Sampras only lost serve twice in winning last year's Wimbledon title. And now
so he's
already
halfway there.
It's a long way to go.
2 games to 1, first set.
Well, there's a microcosm of Pete Sampras's year so far. The obvious absence of the kind of confidence which carried him through so many seasons as a dominant #1 and a threat to win every Grand Slam championship. Now, the players in the locker room discuss the fact that they now feel as they can go out and beat him, and it's a feeling that not many players would have had before now.
That is absolutely right. It's a huge psychological thing. I remember 2-3 years ago when the players talked about Sampras, he was almost at a different level when the players, they were in awe of him. Now they're not. They still respect him. Obviously, he's still the #1 player in the world. But they feel now that he's vulnerable, and that's a huge difference when they step on court against him. They believe now they can beat him.
And it's all happened so fast. Many people trace it, Mary, to the calf muscle pull before the Davis Cup competition this past December.
Yeah, it's hard to know exactly what's going on with Pete. And this is his first real slump. And I think a lot of us are just waiting for him to, climb out of it. But he seems to still be, to my mind, he's still in a bit of a free-fall mode. He doesn't seem to be panicking. I think he's still kind of, and certainly he thinks he can turn it around on the grass at Wimbledon. But he is also not trained as hard in recent months as he used to, and he's going to have to get that back. Nice looking shot from Hrbaty. Poked it right past Pete.
30 love.
Here's Sampras trying to rush him. Got in real tight for that return, and Hrbaty was able to squirt one by. But Pete talks so much about how the majors are the only important thing to him, but because he's not winning the titles around those majors, he doesn't have the confidence he usually has coming into the big guys.
40 love.
If Hrbaty had any center court nerves at the beginning, he's now playing assertively.
He's kind of happy to be there, isn't he? He looks like a young, happy kid.
Current singles ranking 47 for Dominic Hrbaty. Best career ranking 33 last October.
Game Hrbaty.
Love game.
That's not good.
Poor preparation there on his backhand side. I mean, missed two easy volleys on his service game, and there made a couple of bad errors. And you just can't take any match easy these days. And even this type of match where you would pick Sampras to win comfortably, I mean, he's got to start getting his acting gear right away here.
So early on, it's a sloppy Sampras against a happy Hrbaty. We'll see if happiness turns to hope.
15 love.
For the little-known Slovakian.
Pete had that nice-looking early break to start things. If he gets behind,
Wait, please.
if he gets behind all the pressures of the bad year, people talking about the fact that he's vulnerable, they're all going to start coming into
30
play.
love. $40 love. Game Sampras.
And that may help the steady Sampras. A love service game there. Sampras up three games to two, even on serve on center court.
Back to you, Jim.
Thanks, Barry. Mary Carrillo, you said that Pete hasn't been working as hard in recent months. Why would that be? We've spoken so often about the distractions in Andre Agassi's life. Does Pete now have distractions too?
I feel, he knows that he's slacked off. He said, I just cannot get up for every single match anymore, So it's not just mentally, but physically he wasn't putting the same effort into his game as he had been all those years. So he has moved from one part of Florida where he lived around Tampa now to Orlando to be closer to this guy, Pat Etcheberry, who's a fierce physical trainer and works with Jim Courier as well. I mean, now Pete has physically moved himself to a place where he can get physically fitter because he knows that he's missing that part of his game too.
John, you mentioned earlier the poor preparation on the backhand.
15 all.
I don't know really what he was trying to do there. I mean, he prepared. If he was going to go down the line there, he needed to prepare a lot earlier.
$15.30.
This ball toss.
That was well out.
Well, looked
Well out. So a lucky break for Pete